Thank you for those kind words. I think they were kind words. Yeah. No, thanks very much for that, guys. Now, given some people, like the brokers out there, just think of some of the fund managers, they think that we're pretty special, we've got special personalities and we're a bit difficult at times. And we carry on like we should be in Hollywood. I'd like to thank the Academy for this award very much. And thanks, Chris, for those fine words. As Mark McGuinness would say, I deny some of those allegations. For example, except for maybe the shoes and the shirts and the ties and that kind of stuff, I'm probably correct. Now, it's interesting, and I kind of assess this the whole time when I'm working with my colleagues about people's personalities. And I come from the country and I come from one of six. And I kind of think those things that I grew up getting used to or being involved with have kept on today. And for example, I remember when I used to be a young bloke and I used to be at school and I used to go home. I used to go via Central Station and I'd get a plate of chips, and I used to get the plate of chips because I only had $1 and they used to throw in the gravy, the bread roll, the salt and pepper, free. Anyway, so nowadays what I do is I've got this ingrained thing in me. Whenever I go to a restaurant and they say, would you like a bread roll? I say yes, and they say, would you like pepper? And I'll say yes, because it's free. And so that kind of ingrained personality I'll bring up in a short while as to what helps in doing well in funds management. Now when I got the call for this particular award, I happened to have be with a friend of mine from Scone. He's a champion horseman and he's a farrier up there. And I said, they've asked me to go in the Hall of Fame. And he said, oh, right, okay, well, when you go up to Longreach, can you get me a hat? And I said, no, that's actually the Fund Managers Hall of Fame. There's one hall and it's up at Longreach. It's the Stockman's Hall of Fame. So they're going to explain that, well, yeah, we look at stocks, but, I say you're a shareman. And I said, well, I suppose you're right if you want to say stockman and cattleman and shareman and all that kind of stuff. That's right, so there's two halls. He says, okay, yeah, that's right. Anyway, so then I said, but what I'd be interested to know is, with some of those horsemen or stockmen that, horsemen or cattlemen, whatever you like to call them, that get into the Hall of Fame, do they get bucked off? And he said, well, why is that? I said, well, because you see, I accept this award with trepidation because generally winning an award like this, you kind of end up in a heap and end up in the Hall of Shame with carcasses and creatures which make Doctor Who's enemies look like angels. And for example, as that orator Sean Cunningham once said, one day the windscreen, next day the bug. And so, however, fortunately, the people that have won this, it hasn't happened. So you've got people like Chris Cuff and Robert Maple-Brown, Olive Rahn and Keir Nelson, all people I've looked up to that have won the award. Now, I don't know whether I actually deserve it. It's kind of, I'm just happen to be a cog in the business that I work with, and I work with great people. And without those people, we wouldn't have got this particular award and got my Hall of Fame award. And I suppose as Franklin Roosevelt once said, he said, it's, I'm not a smart person, but I make sure that I have smart people working with me. And also in our business, I like to think we have positive people. And when you think about it, you kind of see a lot more successful bulls than you do successful bears. And that's obviously because bulls are generally positive people. Now, it's a very competitive business that we operate in. And the fund managers are determined whether they're all good or bad, depending on the risk-adjusted rate of return, which all of us know about that. And it's the people that drive those particular numbers. So for me, it's, as we all know, it's all about the people. I mean, there are some businesses out there that have been successful because they've been led by marketers who make themselves look like stock pickers, but at the end of the day, it's about stock picking, it's about good people. Now, when you're looking at companies to invest in and talking about people and what companies do you avoid, I think a few of us may know about the 3 Fs. Now, I'm not going to elaborate about the 3 Fs, but I will give an example of a story. Last year, one of the guys I worked with was down at Rose Bay, and he saw this CEO get off a one of those seaplanes that landed just down in Catalina's there. And then he got onto a boat and he saw him going off on the front of this very large boat at that curl thing right at the front with a very scantily clad, attractive female. And at the back of the boat there was a whole bevy of scantily clad, attractive females. And the description reminded me of that DiCaprio bloke and that Winslet woman on the front of the
Titanic.
Titanic, yeah, in front of the Titanic just before it went down. Anyway, Shorty. Anyway, so what happened was that just after that, or I suppose, yeah, a couple of months after that, he was seen on the Titanic. He no longer was CEO of that company, and his share price is about 30% of what it was then. So it's all about avoiding those things that fly, float. I won't go on what the other one is. So when I look at people that make a good investment management business, it's all about a different three F's, and that is the focus, the family, the friends, and the fundamentals. Now, to do this job well, you have to have an absolute passion and focus on stocks, and have a natural insatiable appetite for knowledge on stocks. And we always, for example, have admin meetings before 8 in the morning and after 6 in the afternoon, so that we've got a total focus on stocks. We also just focus on what we do and not what other people do. And that focus can't come unless you've got the support of the family. And my wife has been fantastic and just being able to let me do the business, and it's just an area that I don't have to worry about that. And without Claire's support, I wouldn't be here. And then there's also my friends, and my friends have asked me out for numerous dinners, and I haven't been able to make them, but they keep on asking me out, so they've been fantastic support. And then there's the fundamentals. And the client, it's not only focusing on the great clients that we have, but it's also focusing on the company fundamentals. And kind of what I'd like to say is we do what is right and not what we can get away with, whereas a lot of the also brand companies that we maybe look at investing in sometimes do what they can get away with. And as Roosevelt said, in any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The next thing is the wrong thing, and the worst thing is you can do nothing. And as that great orator Jeff Freeman once said, it's like standing in the middle of the road, unable to make a decision about whether you go forward or backwards, and you get hit from both sides. So putting all those three F's together, it helps us do the job properly. And it helps us avoid the bandits that keep on trying to legally steal money from us. And for example, it happens on the world stage. And it's very similar, some of the finance directors that approach us are very similar to the finance ministers that run some of these poorer countries. And of course, the wealthier the finance minister, the poorer the country. Now last year, one of the poorer countries had to go and present to the World Bank. And they had to say, explain what lessons they'd learned, because they'd borrowed some money from the World Bank and the World Bank had to cancel the debt. And they said, so can you tell us, what lessons that you've learned from this? And they thought the answer was going to be something like, we should have spent more money on social infrastructure, or maybe we should have spent more money on the country rather than ourselves, our secretaries and our staff. Anyway, the guy thought about it for a while and he thought, upon reflection, maybe what I should have done, because the debt was cancelled, I probably should have borrowed more. And it's the same problem that happens in some of the stocks that we invest in. And so our job with putting all those three F's together is to try and beat the bandits. Now this final bit that I'm going to talk about is a bit complicated, and given the financial markets people generally have the concentration span of about a 2-year-old like me, many of you might miss the message. So the point of all this is that it takes special skills and teamwork to do our job properly to avoid the bandits. So why do some of us sell ourselves short and discount? If you think it through logically, we do this job because we think we could outperform. Otherwise, you may as well do something else. All right? So you're going to take the money because you think you're going to do well. People won't give us money if we underperform, no matter how much you discount or how much you charge. So if you do well and they give you money, and if you discount it, you end up filling up, and given we all have limited capacity, with low margin money, when higher margin money would have come in. This then gets you bitter and twisted and works at your self-esteem, and as younger good quality staff come up through the ranks, they say, why should we bust our gut and run discount money? Further, as investors, we would never invest in a company that was selling a good quality product at a discount. This is not, what I'm talking about is not about making as much money as one can, but about being appropriately rewarded for the value add that we deliver. So the moral of the story is, you only discount if you think you can't manage money, and if that is the case, then you don't have the discount. In any relationship, for example, between ourselves and the brokers and ourselves and clients, we need to focus on outcome and not cost. So as I explained to my farrier friend, I said, I'm sure you understand this. It's worth making $40 of risk-adjusted returns rather than saving $5 on costs. He said, yeah, the same thing happens to me when he has clients and who want to save costs and use dodgy horseshoes, and the client gets on top and kicks away and the horse only takes about one step. So it's weird that he gets this and some of us don't get it. While we have good clients, I can't see myself doing anything else different because I love looking at stocks and I have an insatiable appetite for knowledge on companies. My involvement has an unfortunate side, and appropriately so. The older I get, the less notice my work colleagues take of me. I remember Greg Perry said to me, he felt that if people take their eye off the ball for a moment, and he described this as going for a walk in the park, then they need to move on. And I absolutely agree with him. Funds management business is like riding a motorbike. One small lapse of concentration, you get one large accident. Unfortunately, I still have a spring in my step and focus, and while I'm still on the right side of the grass, I still will be to my staff a pain in the arse. In fact, Adam, one of the guys I work with, said to me the other day that I was as annoying as his mum. Now, I don't think anybody's ever said that before, but I think it's because Adam's work area happens to look like a scene from Slumdog Millionaire. It's quite messy. And his mother has a go at him and I have a go at him about it. And then what happens is if you throw his work colleagues' gear in it and you throw Rishi in it as well, it is a scene from Slumdog. So thank you to all my work colleagues, service providers, brokers, clients, friends, and especially my wife and family. I wouldn't be getting this award without you. So thank you very much.
Now his mother's going to love that. He can't, but he did.
Got a few more prizes. Congratulations to all the winners. David Paradice and all the other winners. Congratulations to you. Okay.